even my athletic director, who had been there, well, I can't even say how many years she'd been there, because she was a student athlete there, played basketball at St. Francis, the oldest Division I basketball program in the city.
No
So that
shit.
was kind of why like the news blew up a lot. Like it was crazy that they just shut it down. So she had been there forever as obviously a student athlete, a professor, like associate AD, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just like an amazing person, just really cared about the student athletes, cared about the coaches, all of it. And so she called me maybe like on the Sunday night before, and she's like, basically, I can't tell you what's going on, but we have to have a meet. Like, she was just distraught. We have to have a meeting on Monday. You're going to get an email. Don't think it's weird. But and she went 20 coaches. She went through one by one and called each one. God knows how long that took her. Of course, we were like panicked to go in on Monday morning, but then we found out Monday morning, and then we had to wait a few hours to tell our student athletes. So between Sunday, Monday, and then the afternoon when we told them, like everybody kind of found out at the same time. It was crazy. And then on top of that, a lot of people had heard about it, so they wanted to know what's going on. And then on top of that, we were really focused on what the heck is going to happen to our student athletes.
Right.
So it was like scrambling. And then actually, it was funny because everybody was texting me like, "Oh my God, are you okay? What just happened? Blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Do you need a center forward?" Like, like,
Yeah.
you just go into kind of crisis mode of whatever. But that's honestly, that saved me for a little bit. That I was thinking about the student athletes so much more than myself in that situation. Because I was like, I could have never handled that as a student athlete. Like, that was my whole like personality, everything about me, all of it. And if somebody had ever told me, "Hey, in 2 months, like this doesn't exist, so what are you gonna do?"
Yeah.
Like,
Wild.
so I really like dug into that and helped them find new homes, and I feel really good about where some of them ended up, and that every single one of them ultimately is like where they should be, or the best situation for them.
That's awesome.
That we couldn't provide. So that took a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it distracted from the fact that like, oh my God, we don't have a season next year.
Yeah.
Which I think was really good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's so fucked up. But honestly, like, because I was going through it, like when that happened,
Yeah.
like how scholarships work and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
basically, you're just like, all right, let's work out where you can go, where the best situation is. Probably use your connections, your resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one good thing, I guess, that the school did, which they thought was like justification, they were like, "We're going to honor all your scholarships."
Oh,
So,
wow. That's huge.
it was, of course, nice of them, but again, it's not why they came here.
Yeah.
Like they weren't
I
on
would
a
play.
full academic, like they were here for athletics and academics and the package. And then even too, the environment really changed. So I had one player who actually did stay this year. She was a education major. It was really going to mess her up credit wise to transfer at that stage, just with student teaching and all of that stuff. And she just said she's okay because she's busy and she's basically not even at school and she's mostly in the classroom and this and that. But she's like, it's so weird. There's no basketball games. There's nothing. There's not that like community of that athletics provides. So that was a little weird. Yeah. So they're saying like, oh, well, what's their problem? They can stay and they can have their scholarships. And the athletes are like, yeah, well, we want to play our sports that we, like, dedicated a lot of time and energy to. So yeah, they did. I mean, but that's what you get, that understanding of what it's all about and all of that. But
damn.
Yeah. Now, do you still want to coach, like, or do you kind of like want to dive into some other things? And I mean, we'll get into that, of course.
Yeah. So that was like, I saw that on your the questions there. So I was like, it took me a second. Like I said, I was like really distracted. I was just trying to make sure all the players were taken care of. And honestly, I was like so devastated more for some of the coaches. Like what the men's soccer coach had been there for 16 years. He's won multiple NEC championships, went to like, the Elite Eight in the NCAA, had really done well. He was actually one of like the motivating factors for me to go there, because you always look at, of course, the other athletic programs, but it's not always easy to compare like what resources do they give to basketball. And also, just because basketball is successful in a certain area doesn't necessarily mean like soccer will be. But men's and women's soccer, I've always found that they're pretty comparable definitely in terms of resources. Like you both need the same stuff. You need some balls, you need a field, whatever it is. And then, also in terms of recruiting, it was definitely a little bit different. He was a big international recruiter, which we definitely did a lot of. The city sold that big time. It's huge with internationals, but a little bit different recruiting wise. But again, you see like, okay, the men's soccer program can be successful here. It's not far off for the women's to follow. Yeah, it's not going to happen in a year, which I found out the hard way. But so he had been there 16 years, super successful, turned down multiple like good job offers because he was a city guy through and through. Like he wouldn't have left for any job.
He loved it, Graham.
He loved it.
Yeah.
And it's just devastating to see that. Also, my athletic director, who I said just had been there forever, born there, I was gonna die there, like the whole thing. A lot of people like that. But then after all of that passed, I was like, oh, and then I'm like really starting to feel really sorry for myself, because I'm like, damn, we put in a lot of work for this. The first couple of years were hard, and then not that next year, the next year was going to be like, oh, we're going to win the national championship. But it felt like we were making a lot of progress. We actually went down hard, came up, went down. It was like that roller coaster, and felt really good about the team that we were bringing in. Some of the recruits really excited. The team that was bouncing back from like maybe an upsetting season, not on paper, but for the potential that they knew that they probably had. So was really looking forward to that. And then it's just like to get cut out from the knees. But so yeah, at a certain point I handled it really well, and then at a certain point I didn't, and I was like, I'm absolutely done with this, I'm not going back. And then of course I'm like, I miss it. You know what? And I miss the relationships. I miss the people. I don't miss the back end stuff. I don't miss all of that. But so I actually I worked at a middle school for a middle school soccer team called the Spence School. It's a private school in the Upper East Side in Manhattan. That was quite the experience, because why I took the job and then actually what happened, they were the complete opposites. I was looking to just do something to get back in, to fall back in love with the game, because I was so emotionally like distraught of like, what is the point of all of this?
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
And so I loved the AD over there. I talked to everybody. They were like, you're way overqualified for this. Like, and I'm like, I don't care. I want to just like help some players and develop those players and fall in love with the game again. That is not exactly what happened. We ended up having 7 players sign up for the team. We played no games.
Oh no.
We obviously got bumped. Field space in New York City is insane. So if you don't have the need for it, like you're absolutely not going to get it. So we were like practicing in Central Park, like on the corner of the guaranteed. I love all the kids. They were amazing. Probably none of them going to like develop into great
Yeah.
soccer players.
Not the experience you're looking for.
Amazing people,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. 6 out of 7 of them had never played soccer before.
Oh my God.
So like really back to my roots.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I enjoyed spending time with them. It was certainly not what I expected it to be, but it was certainly an experience
Wow.
to say the least. In terms of college coaching, I'm just not sure I'm at a point right now. A few things have like come about. I don't want to move.
Mm.
And that is like you know, college soccer coaching. There's only 300 and something jobs available. And
Mhm.
I don't want to live in Iowa. So
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. There ain't shit to do in Iowa.
Caitlin Clark's gone now, so what is it? You know,
I mean,
like,
I'm sure it's cool, but like it took me a minute to get adjusted out here, you know. So
for sure, yeah.
I know. You finally put down roots. Yeah. Jeez.
I don't want to go to
Well,
Iowa. No shots at part of Iowa there.
I know, right?
No, no, sorry,
Sorry, Iowa. We
No
love you. I
disrespect.
don't know if we'll have any listeners in Iowa. Who knows? But you know, so Justine, if you have any so what we'll do is this will come out next Wednesday. Feel free to fire any questions at us. If you can swear all you want, there's nothing, you know, you can be you. It's all good.
Okay. You'll edit
John,
it or
yeah, I fuck up all the time, so which will probably happen. So don't worry about it. So if you do, we'll just clean it up.
It's not even about the swearing. It's about like the shit we just like we cannot air anything like that. we know in good faith that we cannot alienate a group like that.
Yeah. We did you play professionally or semi-pro? Because you were a fucking
yeah. So I
savage.
didn't play professionally, but I actually played semi-pro, and
Okay.
that was I was like a player coach on that team. So that was a really interesting experience for me, because that it's like when you're young and you're still like fit enough and good enough to compete, like understanding that line where you differentiate like between player and coach is sometimes really hard for young coaches. But I think being a player coach and being like having to understand who's going in, like, yeah, I want to play, but if this is what's going to be in the best interest of the team and making those kind of choices, it really helped me a lot in my coaching, in my young coaching career, for sure. I would highly recommend, like, if any player coming out of college had that opportunity, even as an assistant coach or anything like that, I would highly recommend it, because you always see things from a very different perspective. Because as a player, it's, you see certain things, and then as a coach, you just see so much more. So to combine those two things is pretty cool.
That is cool, especially like when you find players that, okay, they say that they're a forward, but you can see them playing a different position and them succeeding.
Yeah.
Being like, you're telling me that you're center mid, but you can be like an outside back that would be making tremendous runs. Like, it's cool to see that, but they're still kind of saying, no, I'm a center mid, or I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty cool when you see that.
Yeah.
And then when they're successful playing, it's wild.
Absolutely. And I hope, and something I encourage coaches and players to do is to just try everything, be comfortable everywhere. Those are your best opportunities, because yes, there is the best player. There's the star player that's going to play exactly where they want to play, where they were supposed to play, where they've always played. But most of the time, especially in the high school setting and the college setting, you're coming in and there's another player ahead of you, or another player that's just as capable of you as you. So if you give yourself more opportunities, like, sure, maybe you want to play left wing and that's always what you've played, but you establish yourself as a right back and you earn the respect of your team and your coach. And who knows, like, can you move into that spot, or vice versa? In my senior year of college, this is a pretty cool story. I played every single position on the field with the exception of goalkeeper. We had a crazy year with a lot of injuries, and I was a center mid, but I was able to play everywhere. I actually spent most of my season at left back, which is my least favorite position on the field. Besides, again, they would have never put me in goal ever.
I bet you would have been good though. I bet you would have been good.
No.
Wow. So that's
actually see me there, but yeah, you just need to be open and willing. I think opportunities come because of it, and then also sometimes you just got to grind it out and do what is needed. And if you've never experienced any of those other positions, you've never had any sort of training or anything, like you're not going to be ready for it. And who knows?
That's how you become a better, well-rounded player too,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we talked about with Kieran, dude. Remember? Like he switched positions, like, for I think was his first year at UConn, right?
Yeah. So Kieran Chandler, he plays back for UConn, and he was conference player of the year for freshman player of the year, and for the conference. And he normally play like center mid, and he is a nasty outside left back. Like he's got a hell of a left foot. I watched him play a spring game against Harvard, and he had the first goal, and then he had the game-winning assist, and they won 3-2. Dude is on another level. But let's start there, because you were a savage in high school. I remember the girls would always say, because our Enfield High girls, no offense to them, they didn't have the best seasons in there, and you at Fermi, you guys did very well. And I remember everyone would be like, Justine Lombardi, they have Justine Lombardi. And so I know you had a tremendous college career at Quinnipiac, where you were Rookie of the Year. You were also the captain your 3 seasons there as well. So your sophomore, junior, senior year. What drove you as a player, and what drives you as a coach?
Yeah. So I think an important thing that I want to mention is, like, so recently I was admitted into the Enfield Hall of Fame, which was
Congrats.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Yeah.
It was actually really nice, because even though they didn't have the Enfield Hall of Fame in Enfield, they had it in Massachusetts, in Springfield.
Really? All right.
Home away from home.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But it was nice to go back, and like my grandparents loved it. My dad loved it. I'm very thankful for it. But until that point, honest to God, I just been like going through it. Like you just go to college, and then like what's next, and you just do this, and then you move. And realistically, if like all my steps, like it's not like anything crazy. There's no national team stuff in there. It's just like, but I certainly had, like, looking back at it, that, they asked me to write a bio and what have you done, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, all this stuff is pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
But I never stopped enjoying it. And the reasons that I was doing things was not because like, oh, somebody's going to like write a book about me or invite me on a podcast or
hey, there you go. Now you
are. Maybe somebody's going to make a documentary. No, I'm just kidding. I enjoyed every piece of it. Yeah, there's the ups and downs. There's the good days, there's the bad days, there's the wins, the losses. But I just had a lot of great people around me. I had an amazing support system, and I never once like fell out of love with the game. I'm a very passionate person, for better or for worse. It's but yeah, and that's like, something that I value and that I see in players. And I think that is a strong characteristic that you can use to look for in leaders. Because if you're passionate about something and things are going wrong, you have to have something backing you up to like keep pushing you forward. And if you don't have that, it's like, it's too much. It's like, well, it's easier just to do something else, or like to not do this, or whatever it is. So I really think that my passion pushed me through all the way. And I really think that there's probably some very, very good athletes and people who could have had this great story, a better story than mine, that just didn't, go all the way through because it wasn't what they loved. It wasn't what they truly enjoyed, or something happened there along the way. So I was just fortunate enough to have the right people. Also, my very, very best friends are my teammates growing up from travel or rec soccer through my college career and beyond. And now some of my best friends are players that I coached. So those relationships really, why do I have to show up? It's because for this person, because I respect my coach, I respect my teammates. Like, these are the people that I love, and this is why I play. And you have to have those reasons behind it, because it's not just about you. And that's why I love team sports. I don't know how those tennis players and those individuals,
golfers,
bless them, that's a different mindset. I don't have it. I don't have it.
So does that translate now? Like, do you try to teach that to your team that you coach now, and like teach them that's the philosophy, that's the way to participate in this sport or in any team sport?
Yeah, I think that having your teammates' backs and supporting each other is the most important thing. I've preached that to any and all teams I've ever coached. And I'll tell you a story of one time it backfired on me. We were having some issues, of course, New York City, Brooklyn, field space, like, don't even get me started. It's an absolute nightmare. And one time I was dealing with something, and the team was like, what's going on? They were giving me a bit of an attitude, and I fired back and I said, sit downstairs and wait, and I will tell you when we're going to training. The team bonded together and like caused a revolt against me. And they came upstairs and they said, we deserve you to tell us when. And I was to tell you the truth, I was mad about the field. I was mad about them, bitching and moaning. They came up and they did that all together, like with the captains in front, and and I said, I'm so proud of you guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. They bonded.
That was obviously a very unifying moment for them. They were just like, we're gonna go up, and I'm like, that's a team. That's a team.
That's how it happens though with teams though. Like it's got to happen like off the field. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
too.
Exactly.
Yes, because we do I'm a big team bonding advocate. I got all the games, all the things. Like, I love that stuff, and I think it's super, super helpful. But the most beneficial stuff is the authentic moments, and you really can't recreate that because 10 years down the road I could have another team and I could be like, practice is canceled, sit in the gym, and maybe that same team won't come up with that same response, or maybe they will. Maybe I'll try that again.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I always found too, when I was playing the away games, the trips, the overnights, I felt that was always where you were able to bond as a team, whether it be you all collectively go out to dinner and stuff without the coach, but you can also have the coach kind of lead a gathering. That's kind of where you get, especially if you're having a tough season, you sometimes need those games, those away games where you have a moment to just get together as a team, a step away from the game.
Yeah. So the fun thing about college is that when you create and the best thing for me, because it was obviously very difficult to start a program from scratch. I had no recruits, no culture, no history, nothing. Nothing wild. To change, nothing to whatever. But the greatest thing was I had some very amazing leaders that were with me from the start, who obviously, became captain figures and whatnot for me. But if they're on board and they truly understand what you're trying to promote and what you're trying to do and what is behind it, they can, progress like that with the team. So there were so many times where as coaches, all right, we've got to watch film. We've got to scout the other team. We have to check grades. We have to do all of this other stuff that you get distracted with. If your captains understand what you're trying to do and they believe in it and they want to promote that within the team, and not even just captains, it goes with upperclassmen and leadership roles throughout the whole team. But if they're putting that out there, then the whole team benefits from it. Like there was one time we were at an away trip at a hotel. We had some issues with some dinner order, like, dinner didn't come on time. God, this is the stuff that gives me nightmares.
It's the little things. Yeah.
Right. Dinner didn't come on time. Whose fault is it? It's this person. So we were trying to figure it out. And you don't want to ever put that stress on your players before a game. So we're like, everything's fine. We're just like, we have to just go like over here. And we're like,
Yeah.
So we're trying to deal with that. We finally get it sorted. And we come back. We're like, everything, get it sorted. We come back and they're like playing this like blindfolded minefield game by themselves. But
that's great.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was like, of course, I obviously like knew that game, but
Awesome.
my captains, like they organized it. They were like, let's do something. Let's not just sit here. Let's not say we're hungry. Let's not complain. And that was a big thing of mine. We were like very fortunate to have what we had, and like the location we were in Brooklyn was absolutely amazing. We cross paths with celebrities on a daily basis, like living in just like on the city skyline, all of it. But there were
Who's the coolest celebrity that you've run into so far?
Matt Damon for sure.
Matt Damon,
the nicest.
Isn't he a Boston guy too?
I thought he was a Bean guy.
Too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Damn.
So my like he was the one that would take selfies with them all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
There were a lot of them that were like not as friendly, but
D-bags. You can call it out. You can call them out. D-bags. It's okay.
So there were all these like great benefits being there, but then it was like a lot of it was tough.
Yeah.
But our like attitude was, hey, look, yeah, we have cockroaches in our locker room, but we go out to our field and we like can see the city. Like we saw the president land on his helicopter pad. Like
that's wild.
They can't hear me coach because the president is flying over.
Right, yeah.
That's wild.
We had a really lot of great experiences, and it's give and take. And I think in today's world, like something that I really wanted to pass on to my players is we were lucky enough to grow up without social media. I think that the internet is amazing. I think there's a lot of benefits that like to learn stuff and connect and all of that stuff. But I am so glad that I didn't know everything when I was a kid. I was in my own little world and I knew what I knew. And then I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard for today's kids to grow up and kind of have access to everything and not really know everything that's true, and to see information like, hey, this is what my soccer program is like.
It's constant comparison.
But that's not like really what it's like.
Right. Yeah.
Look at what we say ours is like.
Right.
Focus on that.
So we're just trying to actually we really did try to be very real with what we're putting out there. But you know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
It's hard. Like, well, they got 7 shirts. Okay, but they, you got 2 pairs of shoes and they got no shoes. You're just like, those are the little
comparison
that we're dealing with, like comparing.
And when you joined in 2018, you said you had to basically start the program from the ground up.
Yeah.
What did you like? Was that the most difficult aspect of just starting the program? Is like, where did you start and like creating that culture?
So I actually knew exactly the kind of culture that I wanted to produce. I had obviously spent a lot of time as a player and as an assistant coach in 2 really good programs that had a lot to offer. And as an assistant, you always kind of sit back and are like, well, I would do like this a little bit differently or that. So you just kind of collect those things and put them in your back pocket and move along. But I also have a lot of friends in the coaching world, and you just collect like little bits and pieces. You UNC, North Carolina. Anson Dorrance is like literally one of my biggest role models of all time. I saw him at a wedding one time. Like one of my best friends from college, Pierre Soubrier, married Crystal Dunn, and Crystal Dunn played obviously at UNC, and I was at the wedding, and Anson was there, and I couldn't even speak to him. I was like, my heart was like.
So you couldn't talk to him?
Oh no.
I know. And it was crazy because that was 2018. And so I was like, well, this is the craziest thing is that I lived in Brooklyn and I couldn't figure out how to get to Long Island, which was where the wedding was. And now I'm like, you
living there. Yeah.
And I just had a lot that I could have like talked to him about. He is one of the inspirations why I wanted to take on that project, because I've read all of his books and, things about everything he did. I've known quite a few players who have played there and talked to them, implemented quite a few things. But I couldn't say anything. And I am not everyone that's like short of words. I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to anybody about anything. I just couldn't do it. But my biggest takeaway from him. So my friend Adelaide Gay, she won a national championship as a goalkeeper for him. She's amazing. She told me, I'm big on health and nutrition, like huge. It's like strength and conditioning is my background. That's what I studied in college. I push it on all like my friends, my family, my players. She told me, Anson says, here's your money. Do whatever you want. And I'm like, what? How? Are you kidding me? How can he no, you have to go to like the salad plate, McDonald's, whatever, Popeyes, whatever the heck you want. That's your choice, right? Like I'm providing you with all the right options and all the wrong options, and you're supposed to make whatever decision that you want. And a lot of people make the wrong decision, and that's on you. And in that environment at UNC, I'm sorry, but you're competing against the best players in the country. So if you want to make a bad choice on your own time, like that's going to probably affect you. If you're still the starting center forward, if you're still like, and you want to eat McDonald's, then that's great. But if you drop off on the fitness test or you lose your starting spot or whatever, you need to kind of take a step back and look at you. And then the other thing is like, you know what? Yeah, we can control these kids while they're practicing, while they're playing, and while we're on the road. And that's a small percentage of time, ultimately, when you look at the big picture. Like it's 24 hours a day, even though we feel we're together 24 hours a day sometimes. You're not. And they're always going to be on their own. They're always going to have to make their decisions on their own, whether it comes to nutrition or school or anything else, really. Yeah. And I think that it's your job as a coach to help them make better decisions rather than to be like a tyrant. I used to, when I was an assistant coach or like when I was right out of college playing, I was like, you have to do this. You have to do this. But as I've grown older, it's like understanding people are different. People are different than me. And you have to understand them and help them to make good decisions that work for them, because they're not always going to be under your watch.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how he's run a successful program for, obviously the McDonald's thing is shocking and like a small percentage of how things are, but that's his mindset.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because he could go and say, I'm one of the most successful coaches in the world. Like, well,
right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do that. He says, look, here's what I know. Here's what I have to offer you. You should do this, but like, make your own decisions. And then like, let me know if you need help.
Accountability.
And do you think there's like a philosophy behind that of like, he's confident that they're going to figure it out And so he's just letting them do that on their own time rather than trying to shove it down their throat.
Yeah.
You know, like I just feel like there's something to that where his philosophy is like, okay, either you're going to succeed by doing the right things, or eventually you're going to find out how the wrong things are impacting you on the field.
Absolutely.
And they're learning those lessons that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that for sure, but like, how often are you seeing the kids come into your program now, like knowing nothing about nutrition and nothing about proper training? Like, do you see that a lot for like the freshmen who come in?
It's certainly improved, I would say, over the last like 5 maybe plus years. Absolutely. Specifically.
There it is.
There we go.
Got it.
With the strength training stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think that's become more readily available to young players. It's like the youth coaches and the clubs and things are like understanding that stuff more. It's just science that's just become more readily available. So they're having a better understanding and coming in with a higher baseline, which is super helpful for our strength and conditioning coaches, because typically it's like, okay, that's a really tough job as a college strength and conditioning coach, because you have the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Your seniors, movements smooth, strong, like they know everything. Like that, juniors probably too. Like the sophomores are still working, like you're still correcting form and understand like little things. The freshmen, God help everybody. And like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It was wild. We were working. We were helping with South Windsor varsity boys soccer team, and we had a lot of freshmen there. And I hear you on that. I mean, we're just like, holy God, they can't do the bar, and we're like, Jesus, these kids are gonna get hurt. So we had to start really basic.
Put that down.
Exactly, right? Because you create this program like in your mind of, okay, this should flow into this, and they'll gradually get to this point.
Right.
And it's just like you are starting at such a lower standard than we were anticipating, that it's the process is long. So it makes sense that sophomores are still working at things, right? You're not getting sharp until junior year. That stuff makes sense. It may sound like a long time to someone who doesn't know it, but that's actually probably a timeline that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you do have those one-offs where you have a player who comes in who is like understands it, who has had a good coach and has been fortunate to have that training and it like good form. Yeah, move them through, and then they're stronger and stronger. I would say, like certainly in the college level, like high school is a little bit different because players are still developing and coming into themselves and going through puberty and all of that stuff. But in college, the main difference is the years of training, and it's like the difference between a freshman and a senior is like their legs are twice the size. Not because of who they are or whatever. It's like they're stronger. They're, more, and then experience and all of those things come into play as well. But if you can close that gap, and I really truly think that the form and understanding is the most important baseline of those things, because that's the hardest thing to train and teach. And I see the strength and conditioning coach having the hardest time with.
Patience too. You got to be patient too as a coach.
Yes,
for sure.
So patient.
And so you touched on passion being like a characteristic that you look for. What other attributes do you look for when you're looking for players in your recruiting?
Okay, so obviously there are a lot of good players out there, and then there's a standard that you just have that's okay, I'm at this level of Division I soccer or Division II or whatever, and like there's a certain group of players that falls into that category. As a collegiate coach, you're trained to obviously look for those things. You're trained because you see it every day. But then on top of that, you're really looking for specific things. For me, it's hard work is a non-negotiable. We have a lot of like characteristics and qualities and all these words and things like that. But I think that like hard work, like, I don't know, my grandfather said it, and it covers a wide variety of things for me. I think if you're hardworking in soccer, it's not like you only work hard in soccer. You're probably a hardworking person in life. You probably do pretty well in school. If you ask one person, is this kid hardworking, they're not gonna say no, and that person's gonna say yes. Like, it's a standard.
Yeah, in general translates, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so the other thing, this is a little bit sidetracked, but coaches, parents, recruiters, all these people, a lot of people are like not really trustworthy these days because everybody wants to get recruited. And so it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is sad. It is sad. Everybody wants to get recruited. All the coaches want their players to go to the best school. Like, I feel that people aren't really honest. So I think asking a multitude of people about the same person and seeing what feedback they have about that person, is it consistent? Because I love a variety of players. Of course, I want good players, right? But I want like fast players, strong players, quiet players, funny players, weird players. Like, I think that is the greatest thing about a team, is that you bring this diversity, and different cultures, different countries, all this stuff, you get to bring it together and form it into something that's successful. And how do they complement each other? And like, I think that is actually my greatest strength as a coach, is to what is your strength? What's your strength? And how can we combine those things to make this work? And that was what was cool was about my first season, is that we had a lot of mismatched crap going on.
Yeah.
But it really ended up like being this like amazing group of people. And someday I honest to God, I hope to bring that group of players back together, and just like laugh about some of the stuff that we went through together. But I can honestly say, like, that was a great group.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I really think that that's important, is like valuing people's different characteristics, different strengths, putting them together, all that good stuff. What I'm looking for, again, the non-negotiables is like, are you hardworking? You're not. Oh, this is a lazy person. That's not going to work for me. Yeah. Maybe somebody else. That's not to say that a very talented, lazy person doesn't work for another coach, because there is a coach out there that gets the most out of that player, but that's not me. And I think that as a coach, you have to recognize that about yourself and understand who you work well with, in order to be able to get the most out of those players.
That's huge. That's huge.
For sure. And you touched on the physical aspect of things, and you're getting people from multiple cultures and different backgrounds and all this stuff like that. How does the mental health get brought into the program? And is it a focus? Has it grown over time? Like, because obviously all the different personalities are going to require a lot of different attention on that front too. So what's that like? Yeah.
So COVID was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me. We weren't allowed to train. So that's like what we know. And we're like, how do we get through tough times? Like, we work harder. Yeah. And we're like, this is a tough time, and we can't like get on the line and run. Like, we're here behind the computer. It was a huge transition point for me, and it allowed us to take a step back and like look at some different pieces. We focused it on a ton on mental health, because it was a big topic that was coming up. A lot of people were struggling, especially athletes were struggling because they're used to going out and doing things, and now they're not doing the things that they've been doing their whole life.
So that's their outlet.
It was, yes. And they weren't even allowed, like we had stuff. We had weekly, sometimes daily check-ins over Zoom. Like, Clearly I was just bored. We had crazy time differences. We had players in Australia, we had players in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
So if you actually do the math from the time in Hawaii to us, it's actually
wild.
So we were just like trying to find the best times for everyone to connect. We had like small groups where players could just like chat with each other, just make like sure that people were checking in. So it was like a huge mental health focus for us. I would meet with each of the players during that time and just chat because, and again, you just have this like this time that you don't normally have.
Right.
And it opened up a lot, like that some players were struggling with certain things. And it wasn't they were struggling with those things because of COVID. It was just that I was acknowledging those things. And a lot of them were like playing related, training related. Am I doing good enough? I'm like, are you kidding me? I won't say her name. I won't say her name, but if she ever listens to this, she'll know exactly who I'm talking about. As a player, I actually went to watch a game in 2018 to watch a different player. And I said, forget that player. I loved her. So I just saw her and I loved her. And I was like, oh my God, there's no chance that she's available. It's so sad for me. But I brought her up to somebody and I said, Will, where's this player going? I absolutely love her. They're so lucky to get her. And they're like, well, something just happened with the school she was supposed to go to. It fell through, blah, blah, blah. Here's me, sealed it up, no time.
Nice.
She is the best kid, the best player, played every game for me, 90 minutes, like probably for 4 years. One time she said like, well, I don't know if I'm doing good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I love you. I couldn't I guess maybe I never said to her, I'm saying to, I'm like, I'm such a good coach. I found this player. I recruited her. She's so good. She's like, great. Sometimes you don't express those things to your players, but you don't really know. And I'm like, of course she knows I'm happy with her. Like she's playing and I'm saying good job or whatever. But sometimes if you don't have those meetings, like different people need different things, and that's why you have to get to know your players. And I think that I did a better job of that during COVID because I had a lot more time. And then I learned she needs me to tell her that
she's appreciated almost.
She
more.
Absolutely did.
Yeah.
And then she became even better.
Wow. And it's funny because you feel like the confidence she probably had on the field would just translate and have right.
Yes.
But in reality, that's not the case sometimes.
Yeah, you literally hit it on the head because that was like she was such a confident playing personality. You would never great job. Yeah, I know. Like she just needed that, like individual.
For sure. Yeah.
Was there anything from like that COVID experience that helped with the mental health aspect of it that you continue to incorporate after like the lift?
Yeah. Like just like checking in every once in a while with the individual players, which actually proved to be really tough again after COVID, where we're not like able to set up specific times and have all of that time available. So we actually implemented something that's called number days, and the number of your jersey. I know this doesn't apply to all sports because some sports have crazy numbers like 59 and whatever, but
59 and not 69. That's very mature of you, Justine.
Man, you had to go.
You would have had a cut. You would have had a cut.
Oh shit. I digress.
Just derailed the whole thought process, bro.
Sorry.
No, because our highest number was 30 and we did number days. So it's like on the day of the month that it was your number, you just come in and check in with the coaches.
That's pretty cool.
And a lot of the time, actually 1 month, we were like, no soccer, like this, like how's your brother or whatever, just to kind of get to know them. Of course, we were a little flexible. You know, one time we had a player that really needed the number 99, and we were like, okay, you can come in on the 9th or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It was just a nice, it was a nice way to make sure. I know some of the players were annoyed by it, and I would always be flexible. I'd be like, you can just call me, you know. But some of the players really appreciated it and were like, looked forward to that as their time. Because when people are shy, sometimes it's hard for them to request a meeting with the coach or, you know, bring something up. And then also too, sometimes you might meet with a player 3 times in a month, but you're only talking about like her, like, you know, defensive positioning, and realistically she's, you know, something's going on at home or, you know, whatever.
Right.
So just to try to get to know them a little bit, we kept up with that, which was really nice.
Good.
That's cool, because then again, it shows that you're personable. You're not just a coach, but you care about them like as a person. So that's huge. What would you say has been your proudest moment as a coach?
Oh. All right, this one's, I have a lot. And I think that most of them are individual, like towards the players, is like helping them accomplish something. So I won't say like one, because then people will say I have favorites, but this is like a terrible moment, and also the most proud I've ever been of a team in my entire life. So in 2019, it was the first year ever of the program. We started out the year with a home game against Lafayette, and we did okay. We were tied with them, you know, in the end of regulation. Like they probably should have killed us. Their coach was probably so pissed at them. We were tied. But here I am. I'm like a little bit overly optimistic, and I'm like, I should have just been like, okay, let's just sit back and tie this game and be like, oh my God, we tied the first game of history in St. Francis. But you know, I love a good story.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah, go for a win.
We have to win the first game in the history of the program.
Of the program, right?
So, well, we don't win it. We lost in overtime on a little bit. It was like kind of dramatic, but no more dramatic than any other like overtime goal. And then we go on to lose 16 more games in a row after that.
Ooh.
Some like, you know, like all close games, no ties, surprisingly. But our very last game, we were playing in the conference, and I've been on teams, I've been a part of teams, I've been coaching, playing, whatever it is. Like losing seasons are hard. And that's why I say this group that we put together, like they were special. They obviously knew that it was going to be, they knew more so than me how tough it was going to be to build this and do this. We were doing everything right. We weren't cutting any corners. We were like still trying to stick to our principles and play the way that we wanted to play. And that was actually something that I swore to myself I wouldn't do, like just win a game to win a game, which benefited, I think, in the long run. But they never broke. And so we're in our last game of the season. We're playing Fairleigh Dixon. They're in our conference. They're fighting against Central to come in first. And we're in dead last. Like no matter what, win or lose, we're last. We've lost every game. And my team, they show up and they like work their asses off and fight till the very end. It's 1-0. They're playing amazing, you know, and they're competing with the first or second place team in the conference, which is like crazy. But I'm like, I know that they're not so, I know they're young and they're like, we have a lot of work to do, but they're not so far off. And I know this. But it was just nice to see them do it.
Yeah.
All the pieces finally, like, oh wow, it took us the whole season, but it's finally coming together. And whatever, we're gonna okay, dang, we're gonna lose 1-0, but they played so good. I'm so proud of them. 10 seconds, whatever, 10 seconds on the clock. Blah, blah, blah. We're working our way down the field. 6, 5, 4. We score. We score a fucking goal.
That's awesome.
There's 6 seconds left. Okay. It was crazy. I literally didn't even believe it. My assistant coaches are going crazy. The players are like crying and hugging each other. We're just tied. We didn't win.
That's
We're
awesome.
just tied. They call the goal back.
No way.
Like, I swear
Offsides?
to you, I have, like, don't even get me started on the number of emails and like screenshots and everything. They're like, there was 6, the ball hit the back of the net. There was 6 seconds left. It was like something confusion with the clocks and this and that. There was actually an NCAA rule change because of our game, because of like the confusion and whatever. But I was so it was awful. So it was like really honestly one of the worst things ever. But the things I had to take away from it, I was like, are you kidding me? Every single one of these players that was on that field is coming back to me for 4 more years. I had 9 and a half freshmen on the field. Like, every one of these players is coming back to me for, 3 more years. We have so much to grow from. We have so much to build from. And they're 0-16 coming into this game. What is the point of, anybody else would have been like, okay, cool. Like, no, whatever. Maybe they're looking out for themselves to try to like score a goal to like get in the stats. No, they fought for each other. Like, they were amazing. And then even when everything happened, everything went against them still, as it had for like many months, they still were somehow able to pull together and be like, next, we're going to beat this team next year.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It takes and truly, they learned a lot from me, but they didn't get that like, oh, we can do this next year. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like screaming at the guy in the
crowd. Jeez. Did that game like help you guys carry that momentum in the next season?
I truly think so, but I think for me, I just learned a lot as a coach that it's not just so black and white for the team. It's not about the championship. It's not about being first. It's just like playing together and having like that community amongst the group. Like, they were so proud of each other, and honest to God, like nobody even knew who scored the goal had it have counted. Which was so amazing, because a lot of times in the other programs that I've been a part of, it's like, okay, like I scored that goal and I have 7 goals and blah blah blah. Guarantee we scored 5 goals the whole season. But still, it could have been, there was a lot that they could have. I scored a goal in the first, in the pro. And truly, what I think one of the most devastating things when the program shut down is that those girls, they put in so much and like got back so little. But they were always going to be the first team. And they took a lot of pride in that. And so to just take that away from them, because in 20 years, like, I could be dead and who knows who's coaching, but like that's still the first team. So the fact that the program like just doesn't exist anymore is really not fair to them, because they took a huge risk. And in every recruiting call or whatever, in that first year, it was always about like, hey, this is crazy. The parents would come on and they're like, is this even real? Like, I swear to God, I swear. And the kids were
catfishing them
like,
with a
no,
team.
like, I love
Yeah.
this. Like, but they were all that like building, like,
Right.
yes, team kind of like group. And they were super special. And were they the absolute best players that we could have ever gotten? No. But they were the best group of players that were like there for that job. And not a lot of people could have done it. And they got me through that first year because I'm more of like, I like winning and I like results and things like that. And that was sometimes I'm a little bit optimistic. And I swear to God, I went into that season. I was like, yeah, I think we'll come in the top 5 in the conference.
But you gotta have it. Oh, that's
Dead
tough.
last.
That's tough. That's tough.
I was so serious though. I was like,
You're right. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Depends who you ask.
Right.
So, what words of wisdom would you give a young female athlete who's aspiring to play collegiately?
I have a lot of things I would like to. The most important thing I would say is to just enjoy it. Enjoy the process, enjoy the experience, stay in love with the game. That's the most important thing. Do it for the right reasons. A lot of times I see people trying to please others. I think it's important to have respect for your coaches and your teammates and to want to play with them and for them. But your parents have nothing to do with it. Yes, they probably pay your travel fees and get you to the games, and we appreciate that about them, but it's not, it's not for them, it's for you. So if you're not truly happy with what you're doing, you need to kind of figure that out. So stay in love with the game. Work hard, set big goals. Be like, I want to be on the national team, and then work backwards from that goal, because I want to be on the national team is amazing. That's a great goal, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. And it's not going to happen if you just say that and then you're like, okay, cool, I'm just going to go to practice. Like, what do those players do to get to that situation? Yeah.
I like that. I like that go backwards, man. I've been hearing that a lot from a lot of different places and people in a lot of different professions, and that seems to be a theme. Like, set a big goal and then go backwards from there, because you're going to hit all those milestones along the way by doing that. So that's great advice.
Build momentum too. And honestly, Justine, this has been awesome. Honestly, we just want to recognize you as a coach, as a leader, and everything that you do for all of the athletes that you've coached. I hope you continue to coach and shape lives, because I know you can do it. But I also want you to fall in love with, whether it be coaching or whether it be a different aspect of shaping young people's lives. I mean, that's definitely where you can succeed. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Justine. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Got it.
Sorry if you have to edit too much out of it.
No, I'm the only one that made the creepy joke about 69 when you said 59. So that's all right. Sorry, I fucked that up.